Okay, so when it comes to travel, there are tons of videos, blogs, vlogs, smoke signals, Facebook posts, Reddit posts, and whatever else you can imagine of people saying these are the best 82, 117, -3 travel tips that you can find. And those are all well and dandy, and most of them are pretty good, but I figured this would be a good chance for me to share with you my personal 10 favorite travel tips. And while I do so, it's also time for me to paint my nails. So with all that, let's get into it. Okay, so when it comes to travel, I believe that for the most part, when it comes to how people like to go about travel, it can be a pretty subjective thing. So like I said at the top, these are my 10 personal favorite travel tips that I always utilize whenever I'm going on a trip. And whether all of them or some of them are helpful for you, maybe they'll help inspire you or give you a little bit of advice or tips or tricks in an area you never thought of. Okay, and the first tip that I want to share with you is pick the right bag for you. Now, what I mean by that is pretty simple, honestly. There's a lot of different types of travel bags out there, from duffels to luggage that's a roller, or even just one bag travel, 30 to 40 liter, one bag travel bags. But when it comes down to it, everybody's gonna be a little bit different in what kind of preference they want for their bag. Whether it be something they can check onto the plane and bring everything they would ever need to, whether it's the most minimal and light packing that they can get away with and then jump on the cheapest flight on a one-way flight to wherever they want to go. But either way, when it comes to your travel, find a bag that fits your needs, whether that means it has internal organization, you can utilize pouches, it can go above the plane, below the plane, or whatever. Ultimately, the first step to maximizing and, kind of mastering travel altogether is making sure that the bag you pick is the right one for you. So anytime you're looking at a review, the thing that I would always recommend looking for is what checks your boxes. Okay, tip number 2 is make your own packing list. Now, we've all probably at one point or another Googled packing lists for a 3-day trip, packing lists for a 5-day trip, or what kind of packing list should I use when it comes to the trip that I'm going on. And let me tell you right now, when it comes to packing lists, I have a very strong opinion. What I mean by that is a lot of these packing lists out there have a multitude of items that I personally will never bring, and probably some that you'll never bring. So what I recommend and what I've done is whatever trip you're going on, whether it's a 3-day, 5-day, month, whatever, do this for all of them, but pack your bag with everything you know you need. Every single item, check it twice, make sure you got everything down from your nail clippers to that extra pair of socks to your sunscreen, whatever it might be, pack all of that. And then after your bag is completely packed out, start taking items out one by one. And every time you take an item out, write it down. Before you know it, you'll have customized and personalized packing lists for whatever it is you're going on that are tailored to you. And that's honestly what you're gonna want. You can find packing lists online for inspiration, but ultimately what you pack is gonna be for you and you alone. So doing it this way helps create a customizable and personalized packing list that is 100% yours. Okay, tip number 3 is something that I've said before, and I recently just made a video about it, but it's packing cubes. If we're being completely honest, no matter what kind of packing or travel or anything that you're doing, packing cubes are going to be a saving grace. Yes, they don't necessarily take away from the weight of the bag, but they do help you in one of the most crucial aspects of travel, and that's maximizing space. And when it comes to that, especially one bag travel, you're going to want to utilize as much space as you possibly can. So do yourself a solid and look up some packing cube videos, whether they be from my channel. I recommend Aaron from Nomads Nation, Pack Hacker, Chase Reeves, whoever it might be. Look at some packing cubes, find the ones that work for you. Maybe the bag that you're looking at comes with some special tailored packing cubes. I, for one, am a big fan of that. But trust me when I say, packing cubes will be a saving grace for you. Okay, now this next tip I understand is probably not going to be for everybody, but something that I fell in love with in 2023 is a phone wallet. Now specifically, I use Peak Design's phone wallet stand with their wonderful iPhone case that they came out with in their mobile collection. Now I'm debating on making a video about it. I haven't really gotten around to it yet, but if you'd like to see that, let me know down below, because I am not exaggerating when I say it is my favorite thing in the world. Not only can my phone stand up on flights, whether it be horizontal or vertical, but I always have exactly what I need. My ID, a credit card, and a debit card. And like I said, I know that not everybody is gonna be keen on phone wallets, but the ones from Peak Design specifically are pretty amazing and changed my tune on it. Not to mention when you're traveling, it's nice to know that everything you have is connected to your phone, and we all know that we're never gonna go anywhere without our phone. And one of the biggest concerns I've seen with phone cases is they're magnetic, and that can be an issue when you're putting it in and out of your pocket or wherever you might be storing it, that sometimes that wallet can pop off. And I can confidently say that when it comes to specifically the Peak Design ones, I haven't had that issue, but I do know that can be a concern across the board. So it might be something to look out for, but trust me when I say phone wallets, especially if they act as a stand as well, game changer. Okay, now this next tip is not necessarily a tip as much of it is a suggestion or maybe a favor, but do yourself a favor and try one bag travel if you haven't. Now, like I said, this might not be for everybody, and I totally understand that there's people out there that need to check that roller luggage because they need to bring everything that they need, and it's never gonna work for one bag travel. But all I wanna say about this point, because I talk about it quite a bit, is that until you've tried one bag travel, it can really be quite freeing and it can be super easy, especially if you're traveling by yourself, even if you're traveling with somebody else. One bag travel just makes the whole thing so much smoother. And I know it's not for everybody, and I'm not saying that you should or have to do it. I'm just encouraging you that if you've ever thought about trying it, if you ever wanted to try it, give it a try, because I promise you, you will not be disappointed and you're most likely gonna fall in love with it, because once I did it, I never went back, and that was long before I even started making videos on YouTube. And then we just do a quick little drying break, so stay tuned. Okay, and this next tip is pack smarter, not harder. Now, what I mean by that is whenever we're packing, and this might gear a little bit more towards one bag travel, but if you've got to fit everything in your bag, but you need stuff for multiple occasions, whether that be multiple pairs of shoes, or you're bringing less clothing, so that clothing needs to be able to go a little bit further than normal clothes, then think about things like swabs, packable shoes, maybe some westernized or merino wool clothing that can be antimicrobial and maybe help keep that stink off, or you can wash them in the sink of your hostel and not feel weird and gross and dirty, which you might still feel weird and gross and dirty if you do that, but your clothes won't be weird, gross, and dirty if you do that. I have been testing a lot of new clothing brands that are specifically geared towards travel in the back end of 2023 and now moving into 2024. So sometime in the near future, I will be doing a video about my favorite travel clothing. And no, it's not just gonna be all westernized, even though they are one of my favorites and there's a discount code and all that wonderful stuff. But there is a lot of other clothing brands that I have been testing that I think are just as good and can help other people that maybe don't really like westernized style. And as for shoes, I favor like swabs and limbs because they're packable, breathable, and barefoot. But what I mean by pack smarter, not harder, is if you can, try to bring things that take up less space and can go further, because when any kind of travel you're doing, that's always gonna come in handy. Okay, now this next tip is something that I utilize mostly when I travel by myself, but it's definitely something you can do with somebody else, and that's walking tours. Especially if you're traveling to a new country or even a new city. Not so much here in America, let's be honest, but walking tours are not only a great way to potentially meet other friends, which is what I typically do to have people to hang out with when I'm traveling by myself, but they're also a really good way to get some information about that city, town, country, or wherever you might be in an easy and fashionable way. Most of the time, they're also free, which is super great, but they also give you an idea of anything else you might want to explore, do, or if you're just a history buff like myself, you'll find some really good information about things you didn't know about. And if you really want to get out there and explore, I always recommend going on walking tours, because not only are they fun, but you can learn a lot. Okay, now this next one is going to be hard for some people, and it was hard for me and still is, but don't be afraid to take photos. You're on a trip, if you're trying to take memories or make memories, or you're going somewhere that you've always wanted to go and you've always been kind of worried about people around you seeing you taking a selfie or taking a video or vlogging, and I have talked to other creators and I myself struggle with filming in public. Actually, right now, my partner, I made them put headphones in because I don't want them to hear me right now, because I'm very weird about that, because I don't like the idea of people seeing me and making fun of me. But ultimately, when you're on a trip, and I have started to do this more and more, and now I feel pretty comfortable and confident in it, you want to remember the trip. I'm not saying to take 100 million photos or as many selfies as you can, but don't be afraid to pull your phone out, pull your camera out, and take those photos. This is your trip. These are your memories. I honestly say, and excuse my language on this one, but frick those people around you. They don't know what they're missing out on, and if they're judging others for taking photos and making memories, then they're probably not the kind of people you want to invite to parties anyways. Okay, now tip number 9, travel pillow. Now, hear me out on this. If you're flying, if you're going anywhere longer than an hour, travel pillows are a saving grace. I did my Frontier video where I took 8 flights back to back, and I lost my travel pillow at the first airport. Now, I had no intention of spending a lot of money on that trip, but I'll tell you right now, the first thing I did when I realized I lost it was find myself a new travel pillow. They're fantastic. If you have neck issues, back issues, you just want to be more comfortable on the flight, maybe you got stuck with that middle seat next to that person that doesn't know about the arm sharing unspoken rule, travel pillows can make all of that a lot better. Not to mention the fact that if you end up doing something like bus or train, which is also super fun to travel by, it's just nice to have something that you can use as a pillow, whether that be when you're in travel or when you're not. Sometimes at hostels, the pillows kind of suck and you might want something else. A little travel pillow that goes around your neck, can easily attach to the outside of your bag is phenomenal. I absolutely recommend always carrying a travel pillow if you're flying like more than like an hour, and you know, your discretion may vary. Okay, now the last travel tip that I have, and the one that I think is probably something I do the most, and that's slings, baby. Because honestly, if you're doing one bag travel, or even if you're taking a roller luggage and checking it, having a little packable sling or just a nice little day item that can carry all of your stuff from your wallet to your AirPods, maybe your rental car keys, your room key, whatever it might be. Slings not only take up very, very little space in your bag, especially if you're using something like the Bellroy Light Sling, which is something that packs down. It's one of my favorite slings personally. But carrying a sling is so much easier than a backpack because you can carry it multitude of ways, whether you want to go fanny pack mode, which I highly recommend, or across the back, across the front. You can fit all kinds of things in there, and honestly, slings are just a great accessory to travel because you don't want to always bring a giant backpack, or maybe you're checking your bag, but you don't really need to bring a backpack on the plane because you don't have that much carry-on stuff. I, for one, in the rare cases where I do need to check a bag, try really, really hard not to bring a backpack on top of the plane because why would I need to do that? It should go in the plane, not on top of the plane, because I always say that, but don't be on top of the plane. You will fall off and it's like 30,000 feet. Don't do that. But what I'm getting at is slings take up little room and are a great everyday carry item when you get to where you're going, especially if you're sightseeing. And there's all kinds of slings, whether it be from a camera sling, a packable sling, or just a regular sling. I'm a big fan, and slings are one of my favorite things to bring, and they're also one of my favorite accessories. So that brings us to the end of my 10 personal favorite travel tips. Like I said, these are pretty much my golden rules when it comes to travel for myself. But if you have your own travel tips, and it's not one of the ones that I mentioned in this video, let me know down in the comments below. I always love hearing how other people travel. It's so cool to hear other people's ideas, thoughts, and the way that they go about things, because it can be different in so many different ways, which is always fun to hear about. So let me know those down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all of that wonderful nonsense. Thank you guys again so very much for all the love and support. And with all of that being said, I gotta put a second coat on. I will see you next time.